I was thinking back to something that you said when it comes to evaluating results, where you said the woman said, "Oh, well, I'm top such and such," and you had to say, "Well, you're doing these searches yourself." We I want to cover that to a certain extent, like use an incognito window, please. Like
At least.
at least. At
At
least.
least.
And an incognito window, for those that don't understand what that is, it's basically saying, don't use my search history and all the information that you already know about me to
To curate
glean
results.
what kind of results that you're going to be able to show me. So
Because
if
that is the way
someone like
search works.
I am awful for search engines because I work with different clients. So they can't
Yes.
tell what it is that I like because I'm constantly researching for all these different things. I could be researching for a talking point or a client that I'm working with, all these different things. So it's going to be harder for it to be able to judge me. So if I do a search, my search is going to be a little bit different. But if you specialize in something and you're constantly looking for ways to be able to improve what you're doing and all the rest of that, it's identified you as someone that is at least somewhat of experience level. And when you start to Google, if you're constantly going to different things that you do and things where you're named and all the rest of that, yeah, you're going to seem like you're ranked really high. But if you go into the
Yeah.
incognito window at the very least,
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
should give you a little bit better perspective of how it is for someone that doesn't know who you are. So
Hmm.
asking your friends to be able to look you up, not the
Or
same
private
as
browser.
having a stranger look you up. Yes.
Or private browser. That the incognito is a Google term. Private browser. Your
Thank
private
you.
browser. Yes,
Thank you. You
sir.
see, expertise.
Now,
I
yes, your
wouldn't know to
private
say
browser.
that. Yes.
Now here's I'm gonna say three things to that.
Mhm.
All along with that. The first one is was sharing the fact that misinformation gets spread very easily because search engines give you what you want, right? They don't give you what you need. They give you what you want. That is not that is not verbatim what he was expressing, but what he talked about was the fact that you end up in a groupthink model on search, right? That is how search works. So if you continue to look for information, whether it be right information or wrong information or misinformation, we'll say, you end up there, right? That is where you will end up. It's not just on social media where people always talk about it. It comes that way on your search engines. I don't let my I say desktop because I'm old, but my laptop browser track my location, right? I don't. Oftentimes I'm searching for stuff because I'm doing stuff for clients, and it's like, so can we use your location? No, figure it out. I'm
Same.
not. I don't need you to know my location because this isn't for me 90% of the time, right? So that's number one, right? Right. The other piece to it is proximity matters in search. So if you always search for your beauty salon at the beauty salon, you're going to come up first, right? Search for it the furthest from where you want your clients to come from and see if you come up first, right? So that's the other part too, right? Because proximity matters. And then the last piece to it, if you are the DIYer, more power to you. I don't knock the hustle at all. Um, I'm always willing to again give some of those tidbits. That's why I always walk away like, man, I should figure out how to. But the last piece to that I think is making sure that not just using the private browser, but also if you can't figure out the private browser and you don't quite understand what I mean by proximity, the people who don't live in your neighborhood that you know, ask them to search for you if they're in the same city and see what they come up with.
There you go.
And then you'll be able
There
to
you go.
to to do that. I'll make it a fourth one and say one keyword does not make your campaign. So she was specifically talking about one specific keyword, and I said yes. You may come up for that. I don't know, right? This is my first time hearing this term, but are you coming up for it in location, right? Are you coming up for it as massage therapist in Webster versus League City versus San Leon versus this one or that one, right? Like all those
Mhm.
things included.
One of the things that I realized in what you said is, like, I gave you the hair salon example of I was working with someone and she said, "Oh, well, I was ranked top 5, top 10, and this was the results that I was trying to get." What she was doing was she was working with someone that was paying to be able to get her into that spot. So the moment she stopped paying them, she dropped from top 10 to like 60th. And it's because she had no foundation under it to be able to do anything. So there are people that are paying to be in spots.
Mhm.
So yes, you may rank well, but you're paying to be in that spot. So you're not really ranking, you're running in an ad space. And those are different things. So ad
Right.
spaces, they have that sponsored section at the top of search engines,
Hmm.
and then they'll let you know. Well, now they have to let you know more so than they
Yes.
before. They'll let you know that this is a sponsored section, so you can't
Yes.
base it on that. You actually have to base it on what it looks like when someone does a regular search, what the average person might do when they're introduced when they're being introduced to you. So it's
Hmm.
a caveat that I wanted to make sure that we covered because you're covering it, but I also wanted to be able to give that as an
Hmm.
example because she swore up and down like I wasn't doing my job. And I'm like, well, you were paying him to get into that spot. I'm getting you the same level of customers and you didn't have to pay for any ads at all. So it brought me back to, and it made me laugh when you said, I don't know anyone that ever says, I'm glad I stopped doing paid ads. Even if you can show them on the organic side, like I can make you this money, they still think that paid ads is what's getting it to them. But
Yeah.
paid ads is an introduction. It says,
Hmm.
look at this. This is somebody that you might be interested in based on what it is that they might be searching or wherever they
Hmm.
landed and things like that. It's an
Hmm.
introduction, but how many people buy when they make an introduction? How many people date somebody because they met them that first time? Like you want to do a little bit of research. You want to do some kind of due diligence. Organic and online presence allows you to be able to be found for those follow-up questions. Like sometimes, if we keep it on a relationship level for these people that are out here dating, yeah, somebody says, well, give me your telephone number. No, what I'll do is I'll give you my Instagram. I'm older. Like I didn't know anything about all of this stuff. And then I started to hear about it to go, well, what good does your Instagram? Like now I know I got to actually look at stuff like that because I may see you in the daylight and you're this person, but then I go on Instagram and you got your cheeks out. And I'm going, whoa, see, now
Oh.
you're going to have me out in the street where I got to be protecting you and doing all, like, I need to know all of those things. So context matters. You want to make sure that you understand what you're getting yourself into. And it's the same with your business. So
Yeah.
don't just assume because you're in a sponsored spot that if you stop paying that day, that you're going to be able to stay there. And if you're paying to be in that spot, okay. But just make sure that you're doing the other things so that if you ever decided that your budget isn't something that you can continue to give that money towards, that you don't just disappear all of a sudden because that money
Hmm.
you got used to is a crutch because it was you paying for paid ads. What you want to be able to
Hmm.
do is get there so people know about you, start to get
Hmm.
customers, and then start to be able to find other ways to be able to have those conversations. I swear by paid ads and things like that are learning opportunities. Don't just have them pay for the ads. Have them teach you where they found them. Okay, so you clicked on the ad. Where'd you click from? What site were you on? What were you
Hmm.
doing? What conversation? Was it an article? What was the article?
Hmm. Hmm.
Those extra follow-up questions are going to allow you to be able to identify where to have those conversations with people for free.
Hmm.
And that's where I think small business owners struggle because a lot of people get in and they just jump straight to paid ads. And then they miss out on the opportunity of realizing that you could have been having that same conversation in a more meaningful way for free. So do your
Free.
paid ads, but make sure that you figure out where they're finding these people and what they're identifying as your ideal customer. So then this way
Hmm.
you can actually put the extra effort in and have those conversations yourself. I think people really missed the boat on that, and I wanted to cover that while we were talking through the parts that you were talking through. So, yeah, I think those are one things, multiple things that
Yeah.
one out of them. Find the one that works best for you, and then go with that. But yeah, I you definitely nailed it with me. It's going to give you what you want, not what you need.
Yeah.
Like it's going to say, I see your searches and I see based on your searches, this is what you're interested in. It's not going to say,
Most
well, you're
likely.
saying that, you need a screwdriver, but really what you need are pliers. Like it's not going to give you that. You have to know how to be able to search and you have to be able to prompt it the right way to be able to get the results that you actually need. So if you're not being
Hmm.
intentional about it, if
Hmm.
you're not thinking about it beyond your own experience, it's going to give you your search history. It's not going to give you answers.